They told you frozen food was the safe choice. But what if the foods sitting in your freezer are quietly damaging your heart every single day? Right now, millions of seniors are eating these frozen foods, convinced they're making a healthy choice when they're actually doing the exact opposite. The scariest part? Some of the worst offenders are the ones labeled healthy and found in almost every freezer across the United States. You won't feel it happening. There's no warning sign, no sudden pain, just tiredness you chalk up to getting older, foggy thinking you blame on a bad night's sleep, swollen ankles that you assume are simply part of aging. Here's the twist. The same freezer holding the foods that could be hurting your heart is also holding some of the most powerful foods you could be eating every single day. And most people can't tell the two apart. A large share of older adults are eating from that freezer section every week without having any idea which foods belong on which list. So today, we're covering the 4 frozen foods you should clear out of your freezer immediately, and the 4 you should stock up on instead, ranked from least to most powerful, with the best ones saved for the very end. Stick around because the number 1 frozen food on this list isn't just misleading, it may increase your stroke risk by up to 79% in older adults, and almost no one is talking about it. Every claim in this video is backed by real clinical studies, peer-reviewed research, and human trials. Before we get into it, tell us in the comments, what is your date of birth? We're reading and replying to every single comment. I'm Dr. Mandel, and after 26 years of helping people improve their cardiovascular health, I've seen how much these small freezer choices add up over time, especially once you're in your 60s and beyond. Let's get started. Number 4. Frozen breaded fish fillets. Fish sounds like the safe choice, and most seniors reach for these thinking they're getting lean protein and heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. But once that fish gets breaded, fried, and frozen, most of what made it healthy is buried under refined flour, hydrogenated oils, and a surprising amount of sodium. According to a study published in the British Medical Journal, trans fats commonly found in frozen fried foods increase the risk of heart disease by 23%, even in small amounts. Add sodium levels that often exceed 500 milligrams per serving, and imagine what that does over the course of a single evening. Blood pressure gradually rises, and water begins collecting in your ankles before bedtime. The high heat used to fry and freeze these fillets also creates compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. Researchers have found that older adults with higher levels of these compounds tend to have a greater risk of developing irregular heart rhythms, the kind that can leave you feeling fluttery or short of breath for no obvious reason. Pay close attention here because this is the part that's easy to miss. The damage builds slowly, meal after meal. There's rarely one bad dinner you can point to as the cause. The solution is simple. Skip the breaded frozen version. Choose fresh or plain frozen wild-caught fish with no breading. Then bake or steam it at home with extra virgin olive oil, fresh garlic, and a squeeze of lemon. The next food on this list looks completely harmless sitting in the freezer aisle, but it's hiding a combination of inflammatory oils, imitation cheese, and enough sodium to challenge your blood pressure in a single meal while also harming your gut. Number 3. Frozen pizza. It's inexpensive, it's convenient, and for many older adults, it has become the default answer on a long, exhausting weekday evening. But frozen pizza carries far more risk than most people realize. Let's start with the sodium. A single personal-sized frozen pizza can contain well over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Because the kidneys naturally lose some of their filtering ability with age, that salt remains in your bloodstream much longer than it would have 20 years ago. Imagine that sodium pulling water into your bloodstream, increasing blood volume, and forcing your heart to work just a little harder with every beat. Research has linked consistently high sodium intake in older adults to a greater risk of the heart muscle gradually thickening, a change that can eventually progress toward heart failure if left unaddressed. Then there's the crust. Most frozen pizzas are made with bleached, refined flour that's been stripped of nearly all its fiber. This type of rapidly digested carbohydrate causes sharp spikes in blood sugar, and researchers have increasingly connected those repeated spikes with arteries becoming stiffer over the years. Don't overlook this part. Many frozen pizzas use processed cheese substitutes loaded with vegetable oils and additives such as sodium phosphate. Studies have linked excessive phosphate intake in older adults with increased calcium buildup inside the arteries, exactly the opposite of where you want that calcium to go. This becomes even more important if you're already managing high blood pressure or kidney problems, because those organs are already functioning with less reserve than they did decades ago. That doesn't mean pizza night has to disappear. It simply means the frozen boxed version deserves a second look. Instead, make a healthier pizza at home using a whole grain crust, real mozzarella cheese, fresh tomatoes, spinach, and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Now we need to talk about the frozen food hiding in almost every senior's freezer that's marketed as healthy. It may be the sneakiest blood sugar trap on this entire list. Number 2. Frozen fruit smoothie packs. These little pouches are promoted as being rich in antioxidants and capable of boosting your immune system. On the surface, that sounds wonderful. Here's the problem. Most of these smoothie blends rely heavily on high glycemic fruits, such as mangoes, bananas, and pineapples, often in concentrated amounts that raise blood sugar much faster than people expect, even without a single gram of added sugar listed on the label. For someone your age, whose glucose metabolism may have naturally slowed, or who may already be developing early insulin resistance, those blood sugar spikes can be much more harmful than they appear. Research suggests that older adults who experience frequent blood sugar spikes after meals may face a higher risk of cardiovascular disease over time, even if they've never been diagnosed with diabetes. Now picture this. Fruit that's been flash frozen and stored for months gradually loses some of its vitamin C, along with many of its protective plant compounds. So you're still getting most of the natural sugar, but with less of the antioxidant protection that would normally help offset its effects. And when these smoothie packs are blended with fruit juice or sweetened almond milk, which happens far more often than you might think, the sugar content climbs even higher. What began as a healthy breakfast quietly turns into a blood sugar roller coaster. First comes a burst of energy, then fatigue, then brain fog before the middle of the morning, and most people never connect those symptoms back to the smoothie they drank earlier. Some smoothie packs also include so-called superfood powders, such as acai or goji berry, that have been dried and processed to the point where very little of their original antioxidant content remains. In many cases, the packaging and the marketing are doing far more work than the actual nutrition. A much better option is to build your own smoothie from scratch. Choose lower glycemic fruits like frozen blueberries or frozen blackberries. Add a handful of spinach, 1 scoop of unsweetened protein powder, and 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed. That combination supports steadier blood sugar, provides lasting energy, and gives your heart genuine nutrition instead of a sugar spike disguised as a health food. And now we've reached the frozen food that causes the greatest harm on today's list, the one that has quietly been linked to some of the most serious cardiovascular risks we've discussed. Number 1. Frozen microwavable breakfast sandwiches. They look convenient, they sound harmless. And for many older adults, they've become a grab-and-go habit before the day even starts. This is the part that matters most, so stay with me. Out of everything on this list, this one combines the greatest number of risk factors into a single food. A typical frozen breakfast sandwich can contain close to 1,000 milligrams of sodium, or even more, a substantial portion of your recommended daily limit before 9 o'clock in the morning. Because aging kidneys no longer filter sodium as efficiently, that salt remains in circulation much longer, gradually placing more strain on your cardiovascular system while you go about the rest of your day. These sandwiches are also usually built around processed meats, such as bacon or sausage, loaded with nitrates that break down inside the body into compounds that interfere with the natural flexibility of your blood vessels. As those blood vessels gradually become stiffer, your heart has to work just a little harder with every heartbeat, day after day, year after year. Then there's the egg, and in many cases, it isn't really an egg at all. Many frozen breakfast sandwiches use a liquid egg mixture made from powdered egg products, emulsifiers, and anti-caking agents, which are cooked, frozen, and later reheated at very high temperatures. That manufacturing process tends to generate the same advanced glycation end products, AGEs, we discussed earlier with the breaded fish fillets. Compounds that researchers have associated with increasing inflammation inside the blood vessels over time. Even the biscuit or English muffin is part of the problem. It's usually made from bleached white flour, containing almost no fiber, causing your blood sugar to rise rapidly before leaving you feeling sluggish by the middle of the morning. If you've ever noticed feeling unusually tired after eating one of these sandwiches, it's worth paying attention. It may not simply be a normal part of aging. The sooner you replace this breakfast with a healthier option, the sooner your mornings begin working for you instead of against you. Now that you know the 4 frozen foods working against your health, it's time to completely change the story. Because your freezer can just as easily become one of the most powerful tools you have for building a stronger heart, increasing your energy, and helping you stay active and steady on your feet well into your 70s and 80s. Here are the 4 frozen foods worth stocking up on, starting with the one that delivers the smallest benefit but is still an excellent choice. But before we continue, if you've been enjoying this guide, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Number 4. Frozen edamame. These little green soybeans don't receive nearly the attention they deserve, and most people your age never think to keep them in their freezer. Edamame is one of the most complete plant-based protein sources available. Its standout nutrients are natural plant compounds called isoflavones, which research suggests may help support healthier blood vessel function as we age, especially in postmenopausal women experiencing the vascular changes associated with lower estrogen levels. Edamame is also rich in an amino acid called arginine, which your body uses to produce nitric oxide, the same important compound that helps blood vessels relax and allows blood to flow more freely. Picture your arteries relaxing just a little more with every serving. That's exactly the mechanism at work. On top of that, edamame contains vitamin K2, which appears to help direct calcium into your bones rather than allowing it to accumulate inside your arteries, supporting both stronger bones and better heart health at the same time. With 0 cholesterol, very little sodium, and an excellent amount of dietary fiber, edamame also supports a healthier digestive system. And that connection to gut health is far more important than most people realize. A disrupted digestive system has been associated with higher levels of inflammation throughout the body, including inside the blood vessels themselves. Preparing edamame couldn't be easier. Simply steam it for about 5 minutes, drizzle it with a little extra virgin olive oil, sprinkle on a pinch of sea salt, add it to salads or soups, or simply enjoy it as a healthy snack. This is one of those simple foods that many of the healthiest older adults quietly include in their weekly routine without making a big deal about it. The next food is one of the simplest and most effective ways to naturally support healthy blood pressure, and chances are you're walking right past it every time you're in the frozen food aisle. Number 3. Frozen spinach. It may not be exciting, but frozen spinach could be one of the single most valuable vegetables you can keep in your freezer. When spinach is frozen at peak freshness, it retains high levels of naturally occurring dietary nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide, the same blood vessel relaxing compound we just discussed with edamame. Research suggests that regularly eating spinach may significantly support healthy blood pressure, with benefits that some researchers compare to those achieved through major lifestyle improvements. No prescription required. Because frozen spinach comes already blanched and chopped, there's virtually no preparation involved. And that's especially valuable on the days when you simply don't feel like cooking. It's also an excellent source of magnesium, potassium, and folate, 3 essential nutrients that many people unknowingly become deficient in during this stage of life. Magnesium helps maintain a steady, healthy heart rhythm. Potassium helps your body eliminate excess sodium. Folate helps regulate an amino acid called homocysteine, which has been associated with the buildup of plaque inside the arteries. If you've been dealing with cold hands and feet, occasional dizziness, or blood pressure that remains stubbornly elevated even though you're eating well, your body may genuinely benefit from increased nitric oxide support, especially if your doctor has told you that your blood pressure is only borderline high rather than severely elevated. That's often the stage where small, consistent lifestyle changes make the biggest long-term difference. Simply toss a handful of frozen spinach into a sauté with garlic and extra virgin olive oil, or blend it into a smoothie with frozen berries. No chopping, no waste, just real support for healthy circulation. You won't believe what experts are now saying about the next food on this list, because it's quietly one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory foods you can keep in your freezer. Number 2, frozen mixed berries, especially blueberries and blackberries. These aren't just a naturally sweet treat. They're one of the most valuable, heart-friendly foods you'll find in the frozen food aisle, especially lower sugar varieties such as blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries. What makes them so special is a group of natural plant pigments called anthocyanins. These are the compounds responsible for their rich, deep colors, and research has linked them to improved cholesterol levels and healthier blood vessel function in adults over the age of 60. Berries also appear to support what's known as endothelial function, essentially how well your blood vessels expand and contract when needed. Poor endothelial function is considered one of the earliest and quietest warning signs of cardiovascular disease. Studies have found that regularly eating berries may help improve healthy blood flow while reducing markers of oxidative stress over time. Berries also help support more stable blood sugar levels. This has been one of the most consistent findings across nutritional research, and is one reason berries are considered a foundational food for long-term health, rather than something reserved for treating a specific condition. Unlike higher sugar smoothie fruits such as mangoes or pineapples, berries have a low glycemic index and contain plenty of soluble fiber. That fiber slows the absorption of sugar while feeding the beneficial gut bacteria that researchers associate with lower levels of inflammation throughout the body. Here's more good news. Frozen berries are just as nutritious as fresh berries, and in many cases, they're even more nutritious because they're usually frozen within hours of being harvested, instead of spending several days being transported and stored. Take a handful directly from the freezer. Allow them to thaw for a few minutes. Then add them to yogurt, oatmeal, or a protein shake. If you've been struggling with brain fog or cholesterol numbers that refuse to improve, this simple habit may do more for your health than yet another supplement. And now we've reached the frozen food that provides the greatest benefit of all 8 foods on today's list. The one that doesn't just support your heart. It helps preserve the independence that becomes increasingly valuable as you grow older. This is the part that matters most, so don't miss it. Number 1. Plain frozen chicken wings, air fried or oven baked. That's right, chicken wings. Not the deep fried, sauce-covered restaurant version. We're talking about plain frozen chicken wings prepared the right way. After the age of 60, most people naturally begin losing muscle mass year after year through a process called sarcopenia. It's this gradual loss of muscle that quietly weakens your legs, slows your metabolism, and makes everyday activities, like climbing stairs or carrying groceries, feel much harder than they used to. When prepared without breading or deep frying, chicken wings provide complete, high-quality protein that your body can immediately use to help preserve muscle mass, while also supporting healthy cardiac tissue. Research has associated higher protein intake in older adults with better long-term cardiovascular outcomes, especially when that protein comes from poultry. Chicken wings also contain more skin and connective tissue than a plain chicken breast. That means they naturally provide more collagen, a structural protein that plays an important role in supporting flexible arteries and healthy joints. Stronger, more flexible arteries generally contribute to steadier blood pressure and a lower long-term risk of stroke. By contrast, diets built primarily around highly processed frozen meals tend to move the body in exactly the opposite direction. Chicken wings are also an excellent source of vitamin B6, selenium, and zinc, nutrients that support healthy immune function and proper nerve signaling as we age. What surprises many people is that chicken wings are rarely viewed as a food suitable for older adults. Most people associate them with football games, restaurants, and deep fryers, not heart health. But that reputation has much more to do with the way restaurants prepare them than with the food itself. Once you separate the cooking method from the ingredient, the case for keeping plain frozen chicken wings in your freezer becomes much more convincing. And it's exactly the kind of simple habit many of the healthiest and most active older adults quietly share. The key is in the preparation. Avoid anything breaded or deep fried. Choose plain frozen chicken wings. Season them with anti-inflammatory herbs and spices such as garlic, rosemary, or turmeric. Then cook them in the oven or an air fryer without adding any extra oil. Prepared this way, they become a practical everyday tool for preserving muscle strength, maintaining mobility, and staying independent enough to keep enjoying life with the people you love. The earlier you begin making meals like this part of your weekly routine, the more strength you'll build and preserve for the years ahead. So here's where that leaves you. Remove the breaded fish fillets, frozen pizza, fruit smoothie packs, and frozen breakfast sandwiches from your shopping list. Replace them with edamame, frozen spinach, mixed berries, and plain frozen chicken wings. Your freezer was never really the problem. What you choose to put inside it is. Some frozen foods quietly stiffen your arteries, raise your blood pressure, and drain your energy without producing a single obvious warning sign. Others gradually rebuild what those unhealthy foods slowly take away. That's exactly why they're so easy to overlook for years, and exactly why making these simple swaps matters far more than most people realize. None of this requires completely changing the way you eat. It's the small, consistent choices repeated week after week that create meaningful improvements over months and years, not overnight. Simple, sustainable habits that you can actually maintain, rather than another strict diet you'll abandon after 2 weeks. You're not powerless. Now you know exactly what to look for, so tell us in the comments, which one of these 4 unhealthy frozen foods is sitting in your freezer right now? And type yes in the comments if you're going to make at least one of these healthy swaps starting tomorrow. I'm Dr. Mandel. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or would like to share your own experience, feel free to leave a comment below.